Hi guys, it's Ash. Today I just wanted to talk a little bit about what you can do with some basic 3D modeling skills to really improve your models before you print them out. For example, here we're going to talk about how to put on bases if your model doesn't already have a base, or how to add maybe different weapons or items that their characters could be holding. So, normally when you get your STL models before you print them, they're going to be set up for a Cheeto box or whatever your slicer of choice is. But you're going to pick out your model. In this case, we're going to use this one right here. And you're going to need to open it with 3D Builder, which is already built into Windows 10, I want to say. It's already built in and already installed. So you're going to open up your model in 3D Builder. You're going to import it with millimeters usually. Then want to make sure the size is right. Sometimes 3D models you download are going to be sized really weird. This one is just looks like it's just about good. Actually, it's a little bit short now that I look at it. Okay, yeah, it looks like this model is a little bit small, so I'm going to increase the size a little bit, but I'm going to just scale it here. It's not like if it's too big, you might want to scale it way up. If it's too big, you have to scale it down. In this case, it's just a little bit too small, so I'm going to lock the proportions and then just scale it up to what looks about right to me. I think that looks probably about good. It's a little smaller than this big Leonin guy, but okay. We're gonna get rid of this guy. We'll come back to him later. But so now we have this model here, and we want to add a base to it so we can actually set it, print it out on a base and set it on our table, of course. So the way that I tend to go about making bases, if you want to have a base that's just perfectly flat, just a flat disc, you're just going to add a cylinder, and you want the Y dimension on it, either the X or Y dimension on it. It really doesn't matter. You want to lock the dimensions and make sure that that is going to be 25.4 millimeters. That's going to be a square inch. That's the standard for D&D. And then you'll unlock it and just shrink down the height. I usually do it to probably about that. Probably 2 millimeters is probably fine. Honestly, that's probably thicker than it needs to be, but just to make sure it's solid, that's a pretty reasonably sized base there. The next thing we're going to have to do is line it up under the model, of course. You can also just set its location to here to 0, 0, and 0. Actually, you need that to also be up so it's flat, and it'll snap to be flat with the build platform here. So then going to deselect this disk and just select the character model, and we want to put its X dimension and Y dimension on 0 as well, but we need to raise its Z dimension, which you can do just by grabbing the model or by editing the number here, or you can grab the arrow as well. So you can see if I just lower it just right, it'll snap to be directly in contact with the plate, and that'll be fine if you have a model where the feet are just going to be flat on it. But this model, you can tell we have a little more to do, because if we just were to try and print this would have just like a tiny couple pixels trying to connect that foot to this base, and that's just not going to be good enough to make it stick, right? So when you have something like this, like a raised foot, often you'll see this with a running pose or a jumping pose like this one, you're going to have to add something, kind of connective tissue, as it were. What I do usually is you can just add a wedge. And then we just have to line it up here, if I can orient this just right. We basically want to get it so it is both connected to the foot and the base. It can just connect flat if you can get it flat, or I usually try and sink it a little bit into the actual model. And there we go. That is nice and connected there. Also, depending on the shape of the bottom of the model, you can sometimes just sink it a little bit into the base to make sure it's fully connected. Now, obviously, this doesn't look like you're going to be able to see that when it's on the table, but it's, if you just paint it right, it's not really going to be all that obtrusive. So once you kind of have it set where you want it on the base, like I like that, how like the kind of center mass is a little bit off, but based on her pose, you know, the bow is not like protruding way off the base or anything. Then what we have to do is we have to select all the pieces, which we currently have 1, 2, 3 pieces selected. We're going to go to edit, and we're going to merge. So this merge operation just takes a second. We'll come back when it's done. Hey, it finished. And all you have to do now is click Save As, which is actually, this is also up just in the corner here, 3 lines, Save As, and I will just do elf model plus base. I like to say plus base or plus whatever I added to it, so I know that this is the model that has the parts combined together. And then I can go and print it as normal from there. Oh, it looks like I actually saved it wrong. You want to make sure you save it as an STL or whatever your printer needs. That was my mistake here. Make sure and save it with the correct file type. So now we're here with this model here, and we're going to be removing this sword and then applying or attaching a new one in its place. So what I found to be one of the ways you can do that is by adding in an object. In this case, we're going to be inserting just a cylinder. We're going to take this and basically move it so we have it directly lined up with the sword. Fully encapsulated, we're going to go to edit, and then we want to subtract. So it's going to erase anything that's inside this selected object here. Now you can see I messed up a little bit because I actually took a little bit of his shirt here. Luckily it looks fine and I don't really feel the need to change it. But if you do, you can always just Control Z, you know, repair your mistake. There we go. And then we just do the same thing on this bottom side here. Okay, so you can see now we've subtracted the entire sword. If you want, if you want to smooth some of the stuff out a little more with a couple more cuts, you can, but I did not really think I needed to for what I'm going to be doing. So, always good to save your progress while you're going. And then I'm going to go ahead and insert. Go to Insert tab, hit Add. We're going to be adding another object here. I'm just going to go to navigate to that folder where I had the item here, and this sword is what I'm going to be adding here. Now, as you can see, this is a gigantic sword, so we're going to need to scale that down a whole bunch. So once you scale it, you're just going to need to orient it to get where you want it to be. Once you get it oriented the way you'd like it, all you have to do is select both parts like this, go to Edit and Merge. And I also often like to save these as, you know, character name plus the sorter, whatever it is you add to them, just so I can keep track of the files. But that's however you want to do that. And then it's on to printing. Anyway, guys, I hope that this was helpful, and everyone have a good day.